Welcome,
Welcome.
everybody.
Yes, and look, you got faces.
That's our beautiful faces. It was a lot of work this morning. So please forgive me. I forgot my mug today, but I understood the assignment Mark gave me to wear this sweatshirt.
Right, and I
So,
had to wear this one. So,
but welcome to another Fresh Perspective episode 4,
episode 4. Can you believe it?
Mark 4.
We've done 4 already.
I know.
It's amazing. It's almost scary because it feels like the time's just going too fast.
And I think this one's our heaviest one
Yeah,
for the both of us
yeah,
in this kind of conversation
yeah. I
to
think so.
talk about our perspective of what we see this institution at.
And where we're going, I think, is the other part of it because I think that's probably key to us being here. I mean, I think part of it, and I remember 4 years ago almost 5 years ago now, when I started, I was looking at was it mission and vision and everything for Green River College, and I was like, wow, okay, I really believe in supporting students, but this is not really, like, there was not inspiring or anything.
Inspirational.
It wasn't inspirational. And it's like now we've got something that's meaty.
Okay.
And actually here, I have it here. Hopefully everybody has seen this. I'm going to show it around here. But this is our Green River College Equity-Centered Strategic Plan. And that's a lot of words.
Right? Beautiful words.
Beautiful words.
You know.
And I remember, so Delbert Richardson was just here.
For in-service
And
day.
one of the things we talked about, one of the, I think, things that he mentioned was just the fact that these are beautiful words. How do we take this then to our next step? How do we, as an organization, and I at this point I really want to thank Dr. Johnson because of her passion for this.
Yep.
And it's one of the things that has also made me very passionate about standing up and standing out. It's also something I share in orientation. I mean, I send them 3 questions. We talk about how do you support students and student success? How do you support us as an anti-racist college? And we have a conversation about it. And this is our base for anybody coming into the organization and anybody who continues to be here. And I remember asking one of our colleagues who's recent here, I said, so when somebody's not doing this, what are you going to do? She said, I'm going to take this and I say, you're not doing this. And I'm like, right on, perfect. Because we're holding people accountable, right?
You act like this is the law. Excuse me.
What?
Section 4
Yeah, exactly.
of this. You're not doing that.
You're not doing
that. So do I fine you?
Right.
Do you give me a Starbucks? Like, what do we do with that?
So when we think about it and we look at our values, we have, belonging, we have accountability. And how do we do that? How do we hold each other accountable?
Yeah. I think these words are beautiful, and I think we're figuring out as an institution how to implement them, right? Yeah. How to create policies, procedures, and embed it in our institution at the fabric of that. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Like, I came here in 2014, and now having these discussions, we didn't have those discussions like we are right now. So the opportunity to discuss these issues and topics to really try to move the needle forward and that kind of stuff. And I think also the beauty of it is, me and you talk about this a lot, about the anti-racist part, that we have to talk about that part. Yep. And it also talks about the fabric and the history of Green River and bring us forward, right? We got to acknowledge the past to move us forward. To move us
forward, exactly.
And some healing has to happen for some people who've been here for a while, right? Yeah. To move us forward and that kind of stuff. So I think that's the beautiful part of, this strategic plan and what Dr. Johnson is trying to do and cultivate.
Right.
And that kind of stuff. And there are people on board who are doing it in pockets and places. Yep. It's just now trying to get the whole institution to beat to the same drum.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the questions, and you and I talked about this earlier, one of the questions that came up, and you may have to phrase the question because you did a beautiful job phrasing it the last time.
Thank you.
But I think one of the questions that came out of our event with Delbert Richardson was, how do you change the people who haven't gotten on board? How do you get them to see the light? And I've always been of the feeling that you can't change people. You can change hearts, you can change minds, but you can't just change them if they're going to be who they are. We all grow up differently. We all have families that may have different visions or what, around race and what that might look like. You can't change everybody.
And I think that part sometimes bothers a lot of people.
Yeah.
Where I think me and you have came to a place of content that, this phrase that always happens in my family is, I love you from a distance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I care for you as a person, but you're doing harm.
Right. Yeah.
And I no longer can, be part of that.
Right.
And that's sometimes hard for a lot of people to realize that part of somebody else, because we describe people very quickly here as like, oh, they're a good person. And then it's like, but they've caused harm to other people, right? And we got to acknowledge that part. Yeah. And you have to grow from that part and say, I screwed up. I'm sorry. And then after you genuinely apologize, sometimes you just got to do better next time.
Yeah,
and lay it down, because I think picking it up again and again, and that's your cross that you're bearing, it's not healthy.
It's not healthy.
I
agree
with that. And I think that's also the evolution of Green River, of like people waking up their conscious to say, okay, these things are happening and I'm now becoming self-aware. Now I'm doing some work, but also my past is catching up with me of some things I've did wrong, to just acknowledge that aspect of it. Yeah. I think that's where sometimes we're at. I see where we're at sometimes, and that people are growing. Some people are not growing.
Some people aren't.
And, but the people who are growing, realizing where they're at and saying, okay, this is how much I can give, where I am at in my growth. And being okay with that. Yeah. Like, you don't have to have all the answers. I don't have all the answers.
I don't either. If I did.
But Google is free.
Google is free. Yep.
And it does help you with some things to ask
questions.
Does. But sometimes in positions, and I realize that silence is more beautiful than anything else in listening.
Just listen,
can help you move your needle even further and grow more in your work and that kind of stuff. I think that's a beautiful aspect. And that kind of stuff. But evolving from the strategic plan, we look at our institution, we talk about values. And, I asked you a question today about if there is a new Black employee, what would you tell them?
Yeah, that was a good question. And I think for me, I would say find your community. Find people you connect with. And speaking for myself, like I have a great team. My HR team is amazing. I've seen a lot of change over the time that I've been here. I think we have a great leader and Mark Brunke. Nobody's perfect, but our team really knows how to function well, and we know what we want to look like outside of that. Now, as a Black man, before we had the Black Caucus, I did feel kind of alone. The only person that I saw when I looked on the website and I was planning, to interview here, the only face I saw was Cortland's. And I'm like, well, at least there's one, not knowing anything about Auburn or where the school is located or anything. I think when you and I started working together in terms of the Black Caucus and doing a lot of the work that we've started doing, building those bridges and connections with people in other departments has been, I would say, probably life-saving for me.
Oh, wow.
Because I had a couple of moments where I wasn't sure I wanted to be here. And I have to be very honest about that. And I did walk out of here for a couple of days. I said, I'm done. I'm not going to take the rudeness and the lack of care, the lack of respect. It's not like I came here, with no background and no nothing. Like I just, walked in here and you hired me because I was a person of color. That's not what happened. I am talented. I've been doing this work for a long time. And I can say that I feel very comfortable in the work that I do and very confident in the work that I do. And that was questioned. And that was hurtful. And it's like, I didn't move 2,800 miles away to be treated like less than human, or that I don't know anything. And that was tough. And so I did. I walked out for 2 days. And I made the decision to come back. And I think the biggest thing for me, the reason I came back, was because I saw opportunity. I saw an opportunity to change. I saw what Dr. Johnson's vision was. I knew that we could make a difference. And I was willing to stick it out. And I told her that. And in fact, when I came back, I had a conversation with her, and I said, I'm here. I'm gonna stick this out. So we've made a lot of change over that time, and I know we got a long way to go.
Yeah.
A long way to go. But that's been my experience, is find that community. So I'm gonna ask you the same question. What would you tell a Black person coming into this organization?
Community, because that's the only thing that kept me here.
Community, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've been at Green River since 2014.
Really?
Yes.
Dang, that's a long time.
Girl, yes. Yes. Community has got me.
Yeah, that's almost 10 years, yeah.
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
And the Lord has kept me close too at the same time.
Yeah.
But it's community.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So right now I am the director of workforce education. So I created an amazing team. But I also have an amazing dean. Kathy Alstead is amazing person overall. She is the person that, I call her my working mama, because she calls me in. And when we talk about these value statements, like feeling belonging, I felt belong because I have a great boss. You talk about accountability. She holds me accountable. I hold her accountable. We may have little snarky remarks. I call it sometimes when she's cranky, like, the second commercial is coming out. And she sometimes does the same thing, like, Amanda, you're a little snappy today. And I'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But having that, having someone hold me accountable and love me enough to say something to me, that's so much important to me. And I have an amazing team that does the same thing, that we get to know each other of multiple layers. Because as I said at the previous podcast, is you bring your whole self to work.
Yeah.
Like, everything's going in your life does not shut off because you walk through Green River's doors, and everything that happened, if it was something going in your family life, something going in your marriage, something going in your children, that does not stop.
Right.
When you walk in that door, you carry that with you. And I love that my team is most vulnerable enough to tell me, like, hey, I'm having a bad day. And sometimes I have bad days. And to have the space where all of us are learning and growing as a community, and we don't get it right sometimes.
That's right.
In the work we do, but to be open enough to find community in your team is a beautiful thing in that aspect. And at the time when I started, Black Caucus really wasn't there, but informally, there was Black community here that I always had.
Right.
Where I didn't have to give the subtitles of anything, I didn't have to explain.
Didn't have to explain anything.
Like, if someone touched my hair, it was like, what? Like, it was already covering me. Like, when tragedy happens in our community, I didn't need to explain my emotions to someone.
Right.
and I was valid in my emotions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty part of the Black Caucus is that community aspect
Yeah,
of it.
I agree.
And then I have a little sub community, I like to call them, because there's amazing members in financial aid that I call on to, from officer registrar to people in the business office that I will literally call some of them, and they don't ask that many questions to me. They're like, what do you need? No, like, nothing like we ain't arguing. There's no negotiations. They're like, what do you need? I'm here to serve you. I'm here to help you, because we built that community. And the people I've surrounded myself with are people who are not yesing me, because I can't stand people yesing me.
Yeah.
And I didn't grow up with yesers.
When you say yesing me, I just don't want to interrupt.
So basically, like, oh my God, you're amazing. You can't do no wrong. So if I make a mistake,
so if you make I got you.
They're like, that person's wrong. It's like, no, but that was me.
That was me.
I was out of pocket saying that.
Right.
Those are the yesers who nod their head, or this is the ones that here's a good example. They're such a good person that, yeah, they did that horrible thing to that person, but they are a good person. They just had a bad day and make excuses.
Make excuses for
instead
them.
of saying, listening and saying, yeah, you're probably right. Let me go talk to my friend. Excuse you, you were wrong. You need to go apologize.
Yeah.
That is what I need to grow.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm like, I don't surround people who just think I'm just this wonderful person.
Right.
Like, I am nice, right? I get that I'm a horrible person over here. But it's different, right? And I think that has kept me here. You talk about like opportunities, growth. That has never kept me here. Community has always kept me.
That piece that's
it's kept me grounded here in this institution longer. That is why I've been here since 2014. It's because there's community. I built a community that call me and I can grow with. And that kind of work. And that's the problem I see with a lot of employees that I see leave sometimes. And yes, there's other circumstances. I'm not going to act like it's not.
Right.
But they don't have a community.
They feel abandoned in a lot of ways.
And not seen and don't feel belonging, right?
They don't feel the belonging. They don't feel seen. They don't feel heard in some cases. And I think that's the challenge. I want to go back on something you touched on, because I don't want to leave folks out, because I've made a lot of great connections on this campus and people that I feel I trust, which is not easy out of 600-700 people on campus. A lot of people on campus.
I ain't gonna count those.
But I've made a lot of really strong connections and people that I feel that I could call on. So I just want to say that, you mentioned like
there's different tribes.
There's different tribes
and different communities that are there, right?
There to support you.
And they're there to support you. I can't name all the people on the other group because we'd be here a little too
I know. I was just thinking that.
Like, we'd be here too. That's why I named some departments.
Right.
Because I did not want to be like, geez, this thing is going on.
I know. We could go on for a while. Yeah.
But they're amazing people.
We got Caitlin here. Caitlin's wife and Enrique. They.
And we got newest member Amy.
We've got who? Oh, Amy Cayucci. Yes.
So, she makes me look good on my side. I appreciate her. She knows my angles.
So I mean, I think having these connections and building those relationships is really key, and building those relationships across campus is really key. And having that community and knowing that those are people that don't have to say much; they just know. This morning. I'm sure everybody knows what has happened in Tennessee lately, the past 48 hours. And one of our colleagues sent a note to us and just said, I know what you're feeling. If you're feeling it, I know you're feeling it. And basically.
In the Black Caucus chat.
In the Black
Mark's
Caucus
talking
chat.
about the Black Caucus chat. And that's
exactly what you were just talking about. Yeah.
Where a simple message of, and that's why I think it's beautiful about the Black Caucus.
Yeah.
It's the simple message of
take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself.
Yeah.
The simple message of Black joy. The simple message of you're amazing today.
Yeah.
Go live your best life. There's simple messages of articles and that kind of stuff. Yeah. But the beautiful thing is in that community, there's space to have those conversations.
Exactly.
Right? We have Tennessee LSU women's basketball, right?
Yes.
And, we did the women's month and it had to come later. But I digress. But those things, right? Life doesn't stop.
Right.
Right? How the world sees us as Black individuals, it matters to us.
It does matter.
And we talk today about like the way we dress.
Oh, yes.
Right? Like I get to hear some of my white counterparts talk about like, professional dress is white supremacists. And I'm like, but didn't white people make those rules up?
The rules were made.
Yeah. And then you change the rules for yourself, but
we're still held to the same standard. Yeah. And that's funny. And I was sharing with you earlier that my father was a real proponent. I mean, and I've shared this probably when we did the Four Brothers talk, but my father was really big on, I remember getting my first, wasn't my first job, but getting a job that was not, it was in a corporate office, but very casual.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad, first thing, what do you wear to work? And I said, well, I get to wear khakis and a shirt or a polo, or I don't have to wear a tie. You better wear a tie to work, because that's the only way that you're going to get respect. People are going to respect you if you wear a tie. Mm-hmm. I don't quite sound like my dad. Sometimes you throw a boy in there every once in a while. But that was an understandable thing. I still have tons of pictures of both my parents, always dressed, whether gloves, we talked about that,
the aunties.
But they were always impeccably dressed, and that was that's how people looked at you. That's how they respected you, and that's just something that has been ingrained in me. And we have folks that tease me every once in a while here.
Yes, we do. Always the best dressed, me and Mark. And I take that as a compliment.
I take it as a compliment.
Thank you. We got some good style.
We've got some style.
But it is ingrained in us, because the other notion is that there's that connotation of the opposite of like, you look ghetto or you look sloppy or that. Yeah. And that's always put upon us.
Right.
Or, we have some Black colleagues who get mistaken as students. Mm-hmm. Right? But the white counterparts who wear the same outfit, or even like sweatpants, don't.
Right.
Right? So we have to dress a certain way to get the respect.
To basically distinguish ourselves.
Yes. At the same level.
Yeah.
When we have credentials just like they do.
Yeah. Or sometimes even better.
Yes. Right? So that plays a factor of you showing up at this institution.
Right. Yeah. There were a couple other things I know we wanted to chat about before we wrap up. But one of the things, we did talk about accountability briefly, but one of the things you talked about was holding your manager accountable, and Kathy holding you accountable. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I feel very strongly about. That I remember doing a session here and asking people there, don't you want to hold your managers accountable because they're holding you accountable? Dead silence. Really? Dead silence. Yes. I said, raise your hand. Nothing. We have to hold each other accountable for the work, especially if we're going to do this work. Mm-hmm. We have to hold each other accountable. We have to call out things when we see it, whether it's a microaggression, whether it's someone making a racist comment. We have to make sure that we're holding people accountable. And we need to have the conversation and not be afraid to have the conversation.
Yes. And I think also recognizing that in that moment, if you hear it or you don't say it, but you reflect on it, you go back and you go to that person who did the harm to say, hey, that wasn't cool.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right? Or if you don't get the subtlety of racism, because sometimes our white counterparts don't. And
sometimes we don't.
Sometimes we don't either. And sometimes other people of color don't, right?
That's
get the subtlety because it's a cultural thing that we're like, oh, well, we didn't understand that.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, my bad, let me hold up. excuse you, you were wrong.
You were wrong.
Let me find you because you did not make them feel belong. So let me talk to you about that for a second.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I think it's really important that we hold this, and I have this on my desk. Of course, I hand these out in orientation. My goal is to make sure that every single person, and we've actually had people who have applied for jobs because of this. So, yes, so we have to hold this as part of, if people are coming here because of this, we got to make sure we're doing something.
Yeah. And I think also working on the fact that when you hear something and you don't have a relationship with somebody, and I know that plays in my head sometimes of like, how do I approach you? How are you going to take it? You know, it's in your head of like, okay, I'm in my head for a minute. Give me a second. It's going to come out. Okay, that's too mean. No, we're not friends.
No, we're not friends.
So we can't say it like this. Okay, got it. C option. Okay.
Right, yeah.
So the way you said this made me feel, and then have that conversation, right? But you have to play it sometimes. I play it in my head sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm like, some people you don't have a relationship with, and just because you don't have a relationship doesn't mean you can't hold them accountable.
Right.
They may not receive it the same way. I receive that.
Right.
But you did your part of saying, hey, like, I see this, and I just want to let you know that's not okay.
Right.
And I don't think people realize and that's why I say I don't hang out with yes people, realize about accountability is I feel like that's a place of love.
It is.
You love me enough to say something to me.
Yep.
So if I had, tissue on the back of my heel and you had me walk around this whole place and didn't say nothing.
Right. Oh.
Right? And then someone at least put their foot there and said, hey, you had tissue. I'm like, thank you. Right? Or your fly is like those.
Or food in your teeth.
Right?
Yes, thank you. I remember I said.
But those things, that's a place of love. I love you enough to say something to you.
Yeah.
And sometimes my deliverance, it's not the beautifulest rose, but I'm coming from a place of love because I love you enough because I see something amazing in you that you may not see. And this one little thing just need to be tweaked.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
You could approach this a little bit differently.
Right.
You could have said this in a different tone, in a way that maybe someone would receive it. Right? And I just think those kind of things need to be said because I think that here we talk about community and it keeps us here. But also I think sometimes people are like, I don't want to say anything because I'm not part of their community. I think that's not okay either, especially if someone is causing harm to people.
Right.
Like you talked about leaving, right? Someone made you feel a certain way.
Yeah.
You didn't feel seen. You didn't feel like you were belonged. You
appreciated.
Human, and I've had those moments here, but then I lean in my community and I find peace, safety, and love every single time.
Yeah. And I know one of the things we talked about is that we're also supportive of other communities.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they don't have anyone to lean on. And so we have to be, we don't have to be, but we are supportive of other communities as well.
Culturally, it's not a thing that they speak up.
Right.
It's not a norm.
Right.
Where I think our history, our Black history, like we have to speak up.
Yeah.
Like if we're gonna survive,
that's right.
And
we gotta say something.
We gotta say something.
Yeah.
The Civil Rights Act.
Yeah.
It didn't just benefit Black people; it benefited everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
It helped a lot of other communities out in that work. And I think we realize that we need everyone to move this needle to become an anti-racist institution, right?
Yeah.
We reach out to other populations, the Asian Caucus, who's now the Asian Pacific, other Caucus, Latin A. I know they're working up, really new, but I've already reached out to Rebecca Allen of how we can collaborate together, the White Caucus. Like we are connecting to other communities because we know that this work cannot be by ourselves.
And we can't silo it.
We cannot.
And, for a campus this size, I feel like we've had a lot of silos, and I feel like those are starting to go away. This work can't happen. We
No.
can't just do it as individual areas. We have to do it across this
And
campus.
territory, I know I'm going into people's,
Oh.
I know I'm limited. Let me get my water.
I'm going to drink while you talk.
I know I'm talking to some people in the room. I know. We're going to have a little church sermon, just a little bit, to say, first of all, you need the rest of us to get things done. Yep. Your territory of your department, your territory of your division, the territory of your course, you still need a community of people to come behind you to get everything grow.
That's right.
You cannot do this by yourself. You need people. Right. And I get it that some people feel like my job is going to be taken because that was a cultural thing that happened in the past. Right. It's not like that. Right. People actually want to help you because they see you struggling. They see you tired. And sometimes your body is telling you something before you even get to the point of asking for help.
That's so true. Yeah.
So you have to realize that we are a community. We need each other to grow. Yep. And you need other people to lean on to get perspective. It's not, this is mine.
Right.
Don't touch it. Right. But then you're like, I need some help with this. And you're like, wait, hold up. Didn't you say not to touch this?
Not to touch this? I know.
You know? Yeah. Or it doesn't turn out the way you think it is because you also think your lens is the only lens to get this done. Right.
Yeah. That's beautifully said. So thank you for taking us to church for a second.
I took just a little bit, you know.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Because I know that was hard for some people to receive.
Yes. You'll probably get an email on it.
I probably will. If it's negative, I'll just forward it to you, Bart.
Okay, thank you. I know how to handle those. So yes, I think we're ready to kind of wrap this.
Yeah, I think this institution has a long ways to go.
Yeah.
We got work to do.
We've got work to do.
But we also have to start to a place to admit that some of the things we have been doing in the past, us as individuals, we got to do better.
We got to do better. Yeah.
We got to know the why we're here, what keeps us here, and who's our community. You know, Dr. Johnson always asks, students' community, but who's your community? And is the community you have is a reflection of where you want to grow at?
Right.
Or is it still where you're in the past where you need to actually get a new community?
Yeah. That's interesting, and I know we're trying to wrap up, but I just want to say something too, and I'm not going to get on a soapbox, but we have to move past the past. Does that make sense?
Yes, but also you have to realize if we have scurried it under the rug.
Yeah, well, you have a point. We put it under the rug.
And kept it there for the whole time and not allow that person to put the sunlight on it.
Yeah.
And give them time to breathe and realize how it has affected them. Because some people don't realize
this is true.
How things in the past has really affected their whole being and their personal life.
That's true.
And I like to give a little grace to them because they have not waken up or they've woken up, but they're hurting.
And we haven't taken the time to actually talk to them about the hurt.
The thing we don't do.
Right.
We don't talk to the person who's hurting.
Right.
We call them problems. They're maybe the ones that the HR they call y'all about, but not realizing that there's a history to this person of where they got that. Yeah. And I'm not saying enable the behavior. I'm saying we got to address it and say, what are the tools you need to help you move past it, to heal from it.
Right.
So if it's therapy, if it's, hey, let's accommodate you a little bit to get your feet to where you need to go.
Right.
Is it, hey, you can't overwork yourself. So at 5, clock out because you're not the same person after 5.
After 5.
Right?
Yeah.
So those are the things that need to happen in that. But they have a story. And it's part of our Green River history. And that we cannot ignore. anymore. I agree that new people come in, they're like, what happened to this person? There's a lot of things that happen.
And there's some damage that has happened to those folks. Yeah, that's true. That's
so
very true.
I think we need to, if we're going to grow and we're saying we're going to be an anti-racist campus, we're going to say we're going to have people belonging because that's one of our values. You also have to give the space for the people who need healing.
Yeah.
But also the people who need healing need to say, I need some healing. Because you can't be in the space and be toxic and not say that you need some healing.
Sister woman, you just hit the nail on the head.
I just say it.
Because, you're right.
You can't have an affection and not ask for some doctors or go to the clinic or somewhere like that.
That's right.
Like, we have to talk about that issue.
Yeah.
And if you're not ready to have that conversation, that is fine, but you cannot put all your negative and toxicity into everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got to be positive, and that's the only way we're going to hit our goals is to really maintain a positive, open attitude and ability to talk to each other, and not just talk. And when I say talk to each other, it's not like talking at each other, but really taking the time to listen. And then as you listen, and I always tell people this, and forgot what class it is I teach, but one of the classes that I facilitate through training is don't think about what you're going to say while the person's talking.
I'll respond very quickly.
People have a tendency to respond very quickly and sometimes don't even hear what's being said. So taking that time to really listen, and then, like you said, take some time. Is it A, B, C?
Yeah, like you have to process that in your mind.
Take some time to process and
you
listen.
have to receive that someone is telling you something because they trust you enough, or it has bothered them enough to bring it
to their attention. Exactly.
And their deliverance may not be the beautifulest, because I have done some stumbles, gymnastic moves of deliverance, and I received that. Right. But we also got to realize, if we're going to move forward with our institution, we got to be honest enough to say something. We got to be vulnerable enough to say, I made a mistake, and we have to take down our pride. Move forward.
Oh yeah. And ego is a huge part of making that change. You have to let go of the ego, because it doesn't get you anywhere.
Green River, this strategic plan to these values, are not going to get to their goal unless all of us get there too.
That's right.
We all may come in different ways of how we interpreted this. We may come in different perspective of how we take it this. But at the end of the day, it's going to take all of us.
That's exactly right.
Or it's going to take majority of us. I'm going to say that, or in there.
There you go.
For some of us to get this done.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's what I think our perspective of this institution.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think so. Well, with that, thank you.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure when we get together to do this. We spend 2 hours talking, and then we come and do this.
And we were worried. We're like, okay, what
are we going to talk about?
I haven't married my rich husband yet, so let's not go off the handles yet, Mark.
No.
This was us.
This was good. This is us. And I think, again, thankful to all of the people who put the work into this. I know that one of our colleagues who passed away, Ben Leolofi, was instrumental in some of this, and one of the things he really wanted in here was love. And if nothing else, we have to make sure that we are showing, Ben's watching us.
Yep.
He is watching us. So if we're not thinking about how we interact with each other and show that love, then we're not doing this.
Right. Dilbert said the hard work.
The hard work. We got to do it. So I want to thank you all. This has been great. And thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, Enrique, for being here.
And Amy.
And Amy, yes. And I think we're good. So
thank you.
We will see you next go round.
Yes, in audio world.
In audio world, yes. And I won't be there. Hopefully you'll miss me. I don't know.
You were so hurt. The people said they missed me.
I know. I was like,
please bump into me and tell me you miss Mark, or let Mark know, okay?
Just teasing.
Okay.
Just just teasing.
He's the one who remembered his mug. I forgot mine.
All right. So thank you all. And just always a pleasure.
Yeah.
We'll see you next go round.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.